This is the Zach Ansbury Show.
Welcome. On today's podcast clip, we have the head of marketing of the Collingwood Football Club, Karina Whitefoord. How do you then pick up on, latest trends that are going in sport, whether it's Australia or globally? Are there conferences that you attend or organisations that you're a part of that sort of keep you up to date?
Yeah, well, there's league, industry, a whole bunch of different conferences and networking opportunities, and certainly from league point of views for netball and football, they're really keen on showing information and making sure that they're providing us with the best information and practices and ways of working. So we do get exposed to that a lot, and I think there's a lot of it around. And I like to sort of think a little bit differently. I again, don't like going down the beaten track and doing what is expected. So I prefer to think about, like merchandise sales and things like that, and looking at what e-commerce businesses are doing. Okay. Well, what are they doing that's working for them? Can we adapt that to what our operation is, rather than going, what are sport doing for selling merchandise? So probably a little bit different in that sense, and much more want things that are working already.
Okay. So you look outside of your specific industry.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I think is pretty healthy to do.
Yeah. And that's just interesting as well, because I think agility is key. You can't just expect that the same things are going to work forever. And, especially with sport, like you can't expect that it's going to be the favourite way to spend time forever as well. So how can we make sure that we're doing the best things in the areas that we're connecting to customers, because they're experiencing e-commerce. So when we're selling merchandise, we should be looking and feeling like, their favourite clothing store or something like that.
I think that's really interesting that you just said that, because it just made me think about your competition, right? Because it's not other clubs in a sense. Because I mean, I don't know the research, but I think the reason people would change supporting football clubs or maybe adopt a second one is moving state, because it's difficult to then follow your team if you're not in the state.
Yeah.
But you're actually competing for time.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, so your competition is other activities as well, including sitting on the couch.
Absolutely. And it's something that I've had a lot of conversations with different people about as well, like both internally and externally, is just that the future of experience, regardless of if it's sport or music festivals or whatever it is that FOMO is the main driver of behaviour. And I'm just speaking out of, what I am feeling. There's no data behind what I'm saying. But the commitment is like the biggest issue, and it probably plays into your loyalty stuff in the FMCG sort of space. But like commitment is the biggest challenge for us, is like we can't expect that everyone will want to spend every home game that we have with us every single time. That will not be a behaviour that is sustainable. So what does that mean? And that's certainly why I like to think outside of sport, to go, well, how are other people navigating this challenge? How can we set ourselves up in the way that navigates that? And that's where my interest lies, is in that sort of the research around that sort of behavioural, what are we expecting moving forward? And I don't think that's unique to experiences. I mean, it's unique to people and their feelings, but we see it in dating now. Like it's almost like dating is gamified. So commitment, like, I don't know, I'm 30 years old, so I'm speaking on behalf of me, but like even the fact is, like, people are afraid of committing because there might be something better, because it's so easy to find something better. So why would people say, yeah, I'm going to come to 10 or 11 home games and I'm always going to be there regardless of the day and time? If they can find something else to do so much quicker that they might perceive to be a better, exactly what you're saying, a better use of their time.
And because you are committed, like if you don't attend, like, because I can't make the first game for the season against Sydney, I am a little bit sad about it. But I'm still paying for it.
Yeah.
And so I could on-sell my ticket, but that doesn't feel right. So I usually just give it to a friend or a family member and they'll go in my seat. But I'm still committed to the game. And I think clubs have tried to address it with sort of 3-game memberships. So you're kind of like dipping your toe in. I wonder if there'll be any moves towards like 6-game memberships or something like that.
Well, look, I think the world is kind of our oyster, and I'm speaking broadly in sport in the sense of until we have someone that can prove there's sort of your behavior or ways of predicting how this is going to go, everyone's going to try things until it seems right and it works for them. And I think, my guess is that sport in itself will be, the ways in which you can interact with it will be so proliferated because we'll have to be available at every single point in time on the basis that someone will want to engage with us on their time. The same way that Netflix works. Like, you pay for the subscription because you want to have the access, but you want to be able to choose when you watch it and how you watch it, if that's your laptop or your phone or whatever that is. So I am thinking that that's the way forward for sport as well, is that actually going to the game on a Saturday at 2 p.m. or whatever it might be will become something that sort of seems inflexible to what is a generation demanding flexibility on their time.
It is it is holding strong for now, right? Because, and I think it's just true of all live events.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the reasons that, some shows still do have high audiences. It's because it is shown live and you want to be part of watching it.
Yeah.
If you don't watch a game, you're like, I'm going to watch it later, and then you know the score already. Well, you don't go and watch the game. And even if you do watch the game delayed and you don't know the score, it still doesn't have that sense of anticipation and excitement about it. So sport seems to have like this real ability to be able to hold that. How would sport become more flexible though? It's not like you can just get
I don't know.
these teams
Honestly,
to show up when you want.
If you can tell me, if you could research it and feed back to me, that would be great. But I think the one thing that makes it so unpredictable and so like you just become so curious about it is because it's emotive.
Yeah.
And how do you control emotions? Like I honestly, that is the one thing that is I think that's the one compelling reason why sport has been consistent, I guess, for lack of a better word, but people are emotionally invested in the outcome. Is that everyone now that interacts with sport? I don't know. I know that we certainly have those people like yourself that are sad about missing round one because you like that feeling of feeling invested in some unknown outcome. And you don't know the idea of not knowing what's going to happen is really compelling to sort of go, I don't know how this is going to happen. It's a new season, new team, or whatever it might be. We've got these players in, and we'll see how they gel.
Yeah.
There's so many different factors.
Yes,
but they're so emotive. Like
and you don't know how it's going to turn out.
And you can even the people that are like crazy with Supercoach and things, or whatever it might be, where they try and analyze everything and predict how things are going to go. Some games just don't work out. No. And I think the unpredictability is what is both the blessing and the curse for people like me who are trying to achieve, certain outcomes, because you just don't. And that's why people attend, I think, is because it's an emotional connection to the game, the outcome, a player or whatever it might be, or going with your dad or your mum or your kids to the game. It becomes an emotional experience. So how do you measure and predict that moving forward? I don't know.
Yeah.
But it'll be exciting to find out. And I think that's probably where my love of brand really connects me to sport as well, is the fact that there is power in sport in terms of it being emotive, but then how your brand can really play into that space. So how can you drive that emotion? How can you develop it in someone that didn't know or doesn't care, perceptively doesn't care? So how do you solve those challenges and get them to connect with you emotionally?
It's probably hidden away somewhere in a sports marketing journal.
Probably.
You'll
probably need to do some research and I might actually be able to solve that
send
one.
Heath an email. There's another guy. So just returning back to the concept of sport competing, not just against. I mean, I don't think they compete just against other sports. It's not like, as football, I'm competing against soccer, I'm competing against cricket, I'm competing against tennis, but like I'm competing against concerts or going to a movie. Or there's a researcher in London. He's from Kingston University. His name's Chris Hand. Yeah, so he's had a look at this as well. It's kind of like competition for leisure time.
Yes.
And it is very predictable, right, based on things that we see in consumer good like markets, like the same patterns, double jeopardy, duplication of purchase.
Yeah.
the loyalty towards these activities and the competition between them is predictable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you have some research to do now.
So it hasn't been done in Australia though yet.
Yeah, okay.
I can't remember the exact data that he used, but it's an interesting paper. If you remind me, I can send it to you.
Yeah,
it's one that would
please do.
actually be worth reading.
Yeah. I'll make sure I switch off my brain or switch on my brain after work for that one.
Yeah. I'll just read it through work hours. That's work. So I think it's totally fine.
R&D or whatever you call it, yeah.
Yeah. So you've got season 2020 coming up. By the
Yes.
time people listen to this, it'll almost be over.
Yes.
I don't know, how much can you share about, like, do you have exciting things for this year? Or what have you learned from last year or?
Well, I think for me personally, I am really excited about 2020, only because I'm feeling really good about where I am and the impact I can have and the trust I have and the relationships I have. So I'm excited personally about the things we'll be able to deliver this year and the business, the team, everything. So I'm excited about that because I think it's I don't know, there seems to be a good energy around the projects we're working on, the vision we have for how we're speaking to customers and the sort of insights we're getting from them. And yeah, I'm broadly excited. I don't want to share too much in case it's all. But yeah, certainly I'm excited about the growth I'll see in myself and the exposure I'll have to new projects as well. So
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to watch.
Yeah,
So-
hopefully it will be all good things.
We've Hey guys, it's Zach Ainsbury here with just a couple of quick reminders. If you've enjoyed today's podcast, then make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. There are plenty more interviews to come with some of the world's leading marketing academics and practitioners. You do not want to miss these. In the meantime, if you're looking for another way to connect, then follow me on Twitter at Zach Ainsbury. That is ZACANESBURY for my take on the marketing issues of the day.